Feats, it's I, Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome! It is time to continue my discussion on the Pathfinder role-playing game system. Well, we've been talking about the various races of Pathfinder, those that you can play. Now granted, not the standard ones, your elves, your dwarves, your humans, but the more unusual races. Today for you, I have the Slyph. So, important note, I have played a Slyph, but Sylphs themselves are a race of humans, almost, but with an elemental blood to them, and not just any element, air. Creatures similar to a djinn, when we're talking about genie types, the air elemental genie type. Now, when you should meet a Slyph, they are quite shy, quite reclusive. They want to keep to themselves. But there's an intense curiosity about them, too. So they want to learn more while kind of keeping to the shadows, blending into the crowd, listening to what everybody is saying, listening to what is going on around them. They refer to the fact that they listen in on everyone else, is listening to the wind, listening to what folks are saying around them, and learning much, all while keeping out of their sight. The fact is, they want to basically eavesdrop on everybody, and it can become an obsession for them that they could desire to learn as much as they can around from the people around them. The fact is, should they get into some kind of danger, the knowledge that they've gleaned should be what they're going to use to get out of that danger. The things they've overheard will hopefully save them. So, Sylph are unique that they almost seem thin, lithe, delicate, as if they could break at any time, but their bodies are actually quite sturdy, even though with this. Many Sylph actually nearly pass off as human, and with a little bit of work could easily disguise at it. Elemental blue kind of markings that go across their skin are the only thing that they might need to hide in order to disguise the fact that they are elemental and blooded, and not just a human. Granted, that could be something that would be a little more difficult to hide. Others have kind of subtle pronunciations, like they always seem to have a breeze follow them wherever they go, kind of tussling their hair, even if it's not seemingly breezy out. Some Sylph, you will find that when they are in tense times of anger or passion, they will have some pronunciation of their elemental bloodline, such as a breeze kind of blowing through them at that point in time, or some hot wind blowing around them that might knock things off the shelf, especially that'd be interesting during some passionate times. Now, since they are a elemental bloodline, they are oftentimes, of course, born to human parents, and they'll find themselves in a situation where they don't enjoy the society they are in. Not that they want to back away from civilization like some elemental blooded will. No, they like staying within the society they are in, the civilization they are in, the culture that they were raised up in. But as soon as they come of age, because their own kind of nature, the curiosity, the listening in, they wish to leave the area that they came from. They will depart from their original home and travel to somewhere else, somewhere where they are not known, where they can begin to blend in, where they can become part of the crowd there and begin their job of listening to the wind. Now, when a Sylph should meet another Sylph, well, one of two things could happen. One could notice the other first. In this case, the one that noticed first will investigate the other Sylph as best they can, kind of spy on them, learn everything they can, gather all this information before introducing themselves. The other way is basically the two of them can notice each other at the same time. Then begins an interesting game of sort of cat and mouse where they're attempting to spy on each other, learn everything they can, and eventually when one side feels like they have all the advantages, the two of them meet. The thing about this with Sylphs is, should this situation occur, these two will either find themselves to be the greatest friends that they could ever be, or lifetime enemies that they will always swear vengeance against. Either situation tends to occur. Now, Sylphs themselves tend to have no real connections to law traditions, because the fact is, they have that habit of listening in of that spying kind of secrecy, and laws and traditions don't tend for that kind of things. Not that they buck them completely, they do tend to be towards more neutral alignments, something that's not really law connected, but they're not really up for the chaos. They just want to have their excuse to kind of find out what's going on with their neighbors. When it comes to religion, things like mystery cults or gods of secrecy, travel, and mysteries attract them more than anything because they kind of fit with their purview. Now, when it comes to adventuring, of course, yes, they are great at becoming adventurers. The fact is that trying to figure out some kind of mystery and investigating it to its very end, we might drive them to become a adventurer in that activity as itself. That once they come across that mystery, they need to figure out what it is. What's going on here? What's up here? Diving into it is something they might do. And, of course, diving deep into that mystery could cause plenty of trouble, which gets them into the adventuring kind of side of things. Now, that isn't to say that poking around with other folks and learning their secrets, listening to their wind, couldn't cause other trouble for them. And oftentimes they have to rely on themselves to get out of it. This means that roguish-type abilities and wizard-type abilities are those that tend to actually manifest within Slyph. They have some good abilities that allow them to get out of that trouble, should they find themselves in it. Now let's talk about the racial traits of a Slyph. So they gain a little bit of dexterity, a little bit of intelligence, but they do lose a bit of constitution. They aren't like super weak and put down, but they are a little less healthy than your average human. They have a base speed similar to us. They resist electricity, and they have ability to make themselves fall like a feather once per day. Spell-like ability. They also have dark vision and an affinity for air, elemental-based for more sorcerers. Now, for some alternate racial traits, they do have a number of interesting ones. Sometimes they might appear almost completely human, hiding at subs. Some of them are faster than your average person, rather than resistant to electricity. Some of them have an ability to create a cushion of air to protect them from missile-type weapons, like bows, arrows, and they can also manifest as wind to knock someone down. I had a character with that one. Others can speak with birds and flying animals. Some can heal when electricity hits them, rather than just resist it. Some of them resist sonic damage instead of electrical damage. That's an interesting one. And other others use the wind around them to be more stealthy, to hide their noises. Now, when it comes to favored class options, none of them really jump out at me as ones that I would say, you should take this. Granted, again, if you're being a Slyph of the class, I would check out the favored class option. It might be something that pertains to you and helps you out. It might not be. It might just be better for you to take the bonus skill point or bonus hit point. I would definitely recommend considering each of those carefully, and if they fit within your character, they are more character-specific type favored class options. So take a look for yourself. Now, there are two racial class archetypes for various classes. The first one is for Druid, a Sky Druid. This is specifically a Sylph Druid who specializes in flight. They usually take a flying companion, and eventually they are better at wild shaping into something flies, and get a fly speed of their own that they can take to the air, to the sky, and high above. On the other hand, there is another archetype, the Wind Listener. A wizard archetype who, of course, masters divination magic, because you're listening to the wind and finding out about stuff. So it's a specific type of wizard which is great at gathering, well, information, learning as much as they can and figuring it out, listening to the wind. Now, the Sylph racial feats grant them some interesting abilities. There's one that allows them to fall a slight distance without trouble, eventually unlocking an ability to allow them to just fly, because they can. Some of them can look through clouds and fogs as if they are not there. Others, you don't need to breathe. It allows you to generate your own air within your lungs so that you don't have to breathe into the world outside. You can just be like, oh, I'm breathing inside. I'm going to swim down to any depths. And of course, the ethereal jaunt that all the elemental bloodlines can take as a feat exists within this. But that's it for today. I introduce you to a Slyph. Now, just as I always ask you folks for stories of your characters, I had a Slyph rogue character, one that was a pirate. Of course, this game is never finished up, and we did play through part of the Skulls and Shackles adventure path. Hope to get back to that one day when that GM is able to run it again. Schedule got busy. But it was a character of mine I enjoyed playing a lot. I probably was a little less shy than your average Slyph, because they are shy, but I loved information all the same, and listening to the wind is always a pleasant activity. They're characters and a race, which you can definitely find yourself maybe a little bolder than your average Slyph. But still, listening in there, having a great time, and always looking to the next mystery to solve. But I hope you're having a great day. If you yourself have played a Slyph character in the past, let me know about it in the comments below. I told you about my character, and until the next time, I bid you farewell.